Alright, so this is our character Hope, and this is the one that we are going to be rigging up through this tutorial. This is just the front side of the face and the only side that you're going to need in order to cover 180 degrees of rotation. And basically all it is split up layers. So just quickly put these eyes wide. They're currently just on top there because we need to cut holes in our background of our head. And everything's just separate here. With the eyes, we have our blinks in place, ready for rigging, and obviously the same for the other eye. There we go. It's just the mouth is just a separate piece, and also the hair at the top is a separate piece. So that's what we're going to be using. But before I go in and start rigging this up, I just wanted to jump through and take you through the process of creating the displacement map first. So this freaky looking character here is a result of a depth map pass rendered out of Cinema 4D. Now usually this would be used for in programs such as After Effects to define where you'd want your depth of field placed in your scene. So it just uses that data to target that. But we're going to use it as a starting point for us to build our own displacement map. So if I was to apply the Freeform plugin to this now, or either render it out, then I would get this freaky looking Child's Play 2 character. So not what we're after.
We will pick up on this a little later on in the series, where I'll show you how to create your own displacement maps using Cinema 4D. This will allow you to create your own displacement map out of almost anything or any model, which will give you a better starting point for when you're creating your own character. For those of you who don't quite have the deft illustration skills of the likes of Daniel Guys, then let me share with you a process that will help you get you well on your way. By using only some simple tools, we can create complex maps while retaining complete control and flexibility throughout.
So how's this going to help when it looks nothing like my character? Well, although that is the case, it does contain all this perfect created value data which we need to kick things off. These features are just in the wrong place and we just need to put them in the right place. So let me show you how that's done. Okay, so we're back into our hair front, and I've just merged this down because I just want to use this as a reference only. So we're going to be deleting this. I just want to paste in our displacement map, and then let's hit Command P and bring this down. I should just bring the opacity down a touch so we can see, and I just want to line this up. So if you're getting a bit of snapping like this, just hold control and you'll get a smoother shift. And then there we go. Bring that underneath our opacity. We're just going to bring that up. So with that selected, we just want to go up to Filter and go to our Liquify. And let's go to our opacity and bring this down so we can see our underlying layer. We go to select our Nudge tool, and I'm going to give myself a larger brush. So hit right bracket key. Let's just drag this eye down. I'm going to try and match our character beneath by just simply shifting our data around. Just be careful with a larger brush because you might drag the rest with it. The idea is just to cover those features. And you don't have to be, it's not the end of the world in here. We just want to get a good basis and then we'll finish the rest off in After Effects. So let's just, so you can see that eye is in place. You can see the eyebrow is a little bit up here, so I'm just going to extend my brush again. And let's just bring this down to something like that. Just going to draw out these sides as well, just match out that. You can do a better job than me. I just want to show you the basis of getting this together. Alright, okay, let's have a little look. Now we can see that our mouth is pretty much there. It's in the right place already, so let's just drag this down further. And let's have a look at this nose. It's got a very fat looking nose, so we just want a very small petite nose. So I'm just going to draw these nostrils in so we have a more nice triangle looking nose. Nice petite nose. The idea is that we just want to concentrate on one side. If we had to try and do this manually, then we're just going to get two random results really, because we're just eyeballing it. We're just going to copy and paste it and flip it over. That's the beauty about this whole process, is all the way through that you sort out one side, then just sorting out the other. Let's have a look. There we go. Just make sure I hit the right key. Let's hit OK and get out of there. Now, all we need to do is just go and delete this. We don't no longer need it. I got my rulers up. We know this canvas is 1000 by 1000, so I'm just going to drag that and I'll snap into the middle. We have no need for these guys. So you go, this 500 by 500, so split right down the middle. And firstly, we just want to go grab the pen tool or hit P. And I could use the magic wand for this, but we're going to get, it's quite a low res image, and we're going to get some artifacting, and that's going to affect our freeform later. So we just want to avoid any things like that and just draw ourselves a smoother mask with the pen tool. And you come down here and lock that down to the bottom of the chin. And we're just going to go up and make sure we go up and hit mask, and that's going to do that. And basically I'm just going to merge these by just putting a new layer up there and hitting Command E, and that's going to merge that down. Once again, I'm going to quickly zoom in, and we're going to do the same with this eye. If I was just to use the magic wand, we get a bit of a staggered edge to it, and that's not what we're after. Just looking, making sure to keep outside of the black area. Okay, I'm going to say make selection, hit OK, and I'm going to hit delete. Command D to deselect. Basically, we just need to hit Command J for duplicate, and hit Command T to transform it. Right click and go down to flip horizontal. Hit return, and then let's drag this over, and there we go. I've got a perfect start to start building my character on. So what I'm going to do is just save this out, bring it over into After Effects, and we'll go from there. So there we go, I got Hope imported into After Effects. I've just added a camera and then this dragged the face map down into this composition. So for this I'm just going to be using the Freeform version 2, as I'm having to work on an older and a much slower machine. If I was relying more on heavier use of the mesh tool, then I would certainly have a much harder time doing this without the features in Freeform Pro. But for now I'm just going to be concentrating on the displacement map, and for this the Freeform version 2 does just fine. Let's go in and open our displacement layer. I'm going to go in and get our face map. So let's start scrubbing the displacement height up. Nothing too crazy at the moment. If I go and grab my camera and we twirl this round, we can see that we're getting an instant result. Oh, okay, things are looking a little bit polygon-esque at the moment. We can go into a 3D mesh quality, and if I just start drawing this up, you can see that I'm bringing a lot more detail to the face and smoothing everything out. The profile isn't looking too great, but what I want to do is show you how you can model your character right here in the realms of After Effects, just using Freeform. We already have the foundations laid with that displacement map, so we want to be able to build upon this. The techniques I'm about to show you will give you great control over your model, but only using sort of simple shapes and effects. It's surprising how well this all works. So in order to do that, I'm just going to lock this top layer, go in and open a new comp viewer, and that will automatically open up a new comp window next to it. If I go into and select, well, let's double click on our face map, and there we go, that will switch that to there, and we'll just lock that down. This way, anything we do over on this side, we're going to get a live update over here on the left. So let's give this girl some eyes. All we need to do for this is go and grab a ellipse tool. So let's make sure we're not selected on anything down here in the timeline, otherwise we're going to draw a mask, and hold shift and keep the shape constrained. We are already getting results over on the left, so no matter what we do over on the right in our displacement map, we're going to be able to get live updates over here, which is going to give us super control over our model. Select our shape layer. What we want for this, we want to make this a radial gradient, so go in and click that. And if we go and click on our swatch here, what we want to do is we're just going to bring this outside value up. We want to match something very similar to the corners of the eyes, this way that we just want it to drop a little bit further down past the eyelid itself. So just pick whip that and drop that in. We have this central little scrubber here. If we have this all the way up onto the left or towards the white point, and it will create more of a cone shape. So what we want to do is just draw this down, and it's going to smooth out that overall gradient and give us a nicer looking curvature. Hit C and twirl this round and see what we're getting. So you can see, I'm just going to bunk this up a little bit more. You can see what's happening here. We're getting the right kind of shape, but for one, it's on top of our head. So let's go in and just label that eye. And I'm going to drop this under our face layer. Now you can see that eye is still trying to force its way out of that transparency. So what we need to do is edit the overall values in this gradient. We could go into here and edit the gradient, but we're not going to get a live update. There's a better way to do this. We go in and just go to our curves. And we drop that onto our layer. This way we can just live update. So every time I shift these parameters around, we can see, let's make sure we're back on there. If we just drag that down, you can see that's just drawing it back into the head. Just having a look at the corner of the eye there. What we need to do, you can see that it's very dark here. So what we can do, we can stretch this gradient. Let's go and move our center point. And let's just draw this out a touch. And we can just see that's, if we're manipulating the corners of the eyes, that's what we're after. So that eye's looking pretty good. For the other eye, I just want to Command D and duplicate it. Hold Shift and drag this along. And just drop that on so we're matching the other side. So we can see how easy it is just to make a couple of eyes. But these aren't set in stone. We can move on and always come back to any element of the face and keep on manipulating and remodeling to your heart's content. Next I want to go and take a look at these cheeks, and for that all we need is a couple of ellipses also. So if I drag this out, this time round I don't want to be using a radial gradient, so I'm going to go into our fill and make sure I switch that to a solid. So we can see this crazy shape appear on her face. For us to smooth that out, we're going to apply a fast blur. So if I drop that on and start to push that up, we're getting some undesired results here, and that's because there's an overspill on this displacement map. So for us to take care of that, I just want to use this overall face shape to cut this off so we can trim any overspill. So we're going to take both of our face layers and just going to pre-compose that. Let's call it face map. Now I'm going to duplicate it and I'm just going to chuck that above our cheek layer. And go into our track matte and select alpha matte. That's just going to trim that off. So you can see we're getting a nice smooth edge. Essentially, when you're modeling this way with just a couple of simple shapes, there's only a few parameters really that you have to worry about. So if we click onto our cheek, the fast blur is going to control the overall sweep or how steep our curve is. So if I start to bring this down, we're going to get a sharper edge. If we bring it up, we get a nice smoother contour. And then the overall height can be controlled by our opacity. So if I start to bring this down, we can see that we're letting more of the original displacement map through, and we're decreasing in size. So if I drop that up, bring that back up, then we're going to get our cheek. If we want our cheek to come out further, then all we need to do is go into our fill and make sure that we push our value up. So the lighter it is, the higher it's going to be. So you can just make it as bright as you need to, and always draw back that using the opacity. I'm happy with that for now. Let's go in, and I'm just going to scale this down again. Hit the Y key and drag this into our center. Make sure I'm not on cap locks. It's going to annoy us all. Oh yeah, not now. Let's reduce this and not do that either, and just pull that in and just have a little play around, and you can see we're getting a nicer looking face shape. I'm just going to bring this up a little further. I'm pretty much happy with how that's looking. So all I need to do is to duplicate. We do one side, we sort out the other. So let's duplicate that, and I only want to select the cheek, hold shift and drag that over, and then we get the same for both sides. So have a little twirl. It's looking good from all angles. Again, you can go in and tweak at any time. For now, we want to go in and take a look at this overall nose profile. I want to draw this in a little bit so we're not looking so Viking-esque. So once again, let's go in and grab the ellipse tool, make sure nothing's selected down here, hold shift and drag that out. You can see that puts a divot between her eyes. We don't want that. Let's go and grab the fast player, which is already available for us. I'm just going to start pushing that up, and that's going to give us a nice smoother sweep. And we want to adjust the height, so let's go into opacity, start to draw that back, and that's going to bring some of that original data back through. What we can do is just to draw this forehead back just a little bit. It's just protruding a little bit onto the face. So let me just go in and call that nose. And so instead of me just drawing the same shape and applying the same effect to it, we can just add to this already existing shape. So if I go and hit the G for the pen tool and begin to draw a shape very quickly, like so, you can just see that's made her head super flat. Not exactly what we're after, but because each shape has their own independent parameters or settings, we can jump into our contents, select the shape that we've just created, and if I go into the fill properties, I can go in and change the color. Again, we won't get a live update, so let's go and change its independent opacity and start to draw that down. And again, that's starting to let some of that original displacement map shine through. I just want to try and get this side profile looking the way I want it. Just have a little look at this nose very quickly. For this, I want to bring up two views. This way we can see what's going on. Let's go to this and go into a custom view. And I want to make sure that once we're manipulating on one side, and that we're not affecting or screwing things up on another, which is very easy to do, doing it this way. So let's go into our face map, which we have selected. I'm going to go click on the original base layer. Let's go over here and type in liquify. And we're going to drag this onto our face map. Warp tool options, and just drag that up a touch. Now if we watch over here on the left, we're going to just start bringing or pushing that nose up. I'm going to be careful not to drag that mouth with me, so I'm just going to reduce that down a touch. And if I just, when I let go, you can see that's starting to round that off. So you have a lot of flexibility doing things this way. I know it's so bulbous, so we're just continuing from what we did already in Photoshop. In and twirl her around a little bit. Now this might be a good point to go in and jump into our main head layer and go and add a light to the scene. This is going to allow us to have a better view of what's going on within our scene. So if we just bring this out, we get this stunning looking
China-like dull. Good for some things, but not what we're after.
So I'm going to go back to a face map. I just want to nudge. I'm going to draw this down a little bit further. Just going to start pushing in the side of this nose a little bit. Make it more triangle-esque, if that's a word. I'll claim it. I'm going to be hopping around a little bit here, just trying to tackle as many things as possible. So while I'm in this mode, I just want to deal with this mouth. It looks really good here, but it's inset quite a lot, and that might affect us later when we do our lip syncing. So I just want to soften that out. For that, we can go in and select a new adjustment layer. Let's type in the ever famous fast blur and drop it on. And before I go and start cranking that up, I'm just going to draw a very simple perimeter mask around this mouth. I don't want to be affecting too much, I just want to cover up that mouth. Now if I start to push up this fast blur, and then when I let go, that just softens up that mouth.
And then when I go to a lip sync later, I have all these settings in place, so I can just jump back in here and just further play with this.
So let's twirl her around and have a look at these eyes. I want to drop back these eyes a little bit further into the head because they're a little bit to the forefront, but I want to keep this detail in there also. So let's have a look at how we can go about doing something like that. If I deselect and go up into our pen tool, and I'm going to draw a very sort of basic shape around this eye socket. There we go. And you know it, fast blur, drop it on. Let's turn this around so we can see what we're doing. Let's go into our opacity and we can drop that back and we can see. In fact, let's go and change, hit the V key so we can access the swatch. I'm going to drop this back so we go further into the head, and then again we have the opacity to bring it back up. So it's further into the head, that's kind of what we're looking for. I'm just going to increase this fast blur slightly, just to smoothen that off.
So we've got it back further in the head, maybe a little bit too much actually, but we are losing that detail in the eye, so let's just toggle those switches.
And if I go to something, you can play with a couple of the modes, but multiply is what we're after. Okay, it's dropped further back into the head, but you can see that detail is there. So let's start to reduce that opacity. And if we toggle this switch, okay, we only want a slight amount anyway. Just gonna use the arrow keys to keep on nudging this up. That's too much, take it back. And there we go, that does the trick. So let's go in and label this eye mask. And I'm going to duplicate it. And let's go and hit S to bring up our scale. I'm going to unlock this and put a minus in front of our x-axis, and that's just going to flip it straight over. Just lock that down again. And there we go, we have both of our eyes sorted. Looking good.
Okay, let's have a little look at how we can clean up the top part of this forehead.
Curl these down. I go into our pen tool, make sure nothing is selected, and then I'm just going to draw a rough hairline shape. Follow that around the top of the head. I'm going to move this out because I'm going to add some fast blur to it. Currently we're on a radial gradient, we don't want that. Switch this to solid color, and black is what we're looking for. So you can see that's pushed everything back. If I twirl this round, you can see that's just acted almost like a cookie cutter and just chopped right back there. And then we got the overspill of this image, so we can sort that. Might have done this a little bit too rough, so shift double click and just tidy this up a small amount. Bear with me. Okay, and let's go grab trusty fast blur, chuck it on and start pushing this up. And let's have a little look what we're doing here. You can still see that by adjusting this fast blur, we've got quite a sharp ridge at the moment, so if we can keep on increasing this, then we're going to get a smoother overall look. So there we go. It's starting to work pretty nice. We're starting to take some of this, the eyebrow with us. We don't want that, so just shift, click, and I'm just going to shift that out of the way, and you can see that resolves that. Let's have a little look, see. So it's certainly looking smoother. Just go grab this light and pull it out a little bit more so we can see what we're doing. So that's looking pretty nice. You can go in and you could go to that face map, and then you could further adjust and start to pull out this original data that we have and just start to push that out towards the edges a little bit. So again, always further manipulating just all these elements together, give you great control over your model. So I just wanted to trim this hairline off a touch because we've got a little bit of overspill. I'm just going to get rid of the hope head for now, and I'm going to jump in and click this hope head. I do want that up. So let's go and take this and chuck it over here where we can see them side by side. I'm going to go up and grab our hair front. So if I solo that, you can see this is what we got. If I hit M, we've already got a mask on there. So I'm just going to double click this, and I'm just going to resize this down a little bit, and you can see what that does. If I open it up, you introduce, it will go as far as the displacement map goes, and then it will just straighten up. So you can just trim things this way, and you've got a little bit of the face actually coming through here. So I just wanted to speed on through this next part. There's nothing I'm doing here which we haven't already covered. Essentially I just wanted to bring out that chin a little bit further. So I was just duplicating our just so that we can just literally drag down that ellipse tool. I'm just placing it over the chin, playing with the values and just getting that. It's a very subtle change, but I just didn't want to bore you, so there we go. Before I go on and start playing with the funnel mesh tool in Freeform, I just wanted to tackle this hairline and just see if I can bring this off the face ever so slightly. We can do this pretty easy. We can just jump into our face map, and which is our actual base, and I'm just going to Command D and duplicate it. Now if I go in and add a curves to this, and just drop it on this. Now if I start to push up the overall values, you can see it starts to push off the face a touch, which is what we want, but we only want it for the hair. So if I click on this, and I can have it hit G for pen, which doesn't work, but we can go up here and select the pen tool, and if I just very roughly draw this hair shape and get it as close as I can to what I think it's going to work, and you can see it's doing something. But if we go in and select this light, and we can just have a little look of how poor I actually did there, we can now go back into our face map and start to shift this mask tool down. Now you can see I'm getting a little bit of funniness here. That's probably due to my very poor warping earlier. So if you grab the liquify tool, and I can just amend that way. Remember, that's on a separate layer, so it's not going to affect anything underneath. So let's hit the V key, and very quickly, if it will respond to me. Let's go nightmare. Right, that one's fine. Let's go and select all these 3 points, just drag them down, and ever so quickly line this up. Pray you do a better job than me. Okay, that's looking pretty nice, and we can control how far that comes off the head just by going in and adjusting our curves. So if I crank that up a little bit further, there we go, we get more of a ledge with the hair. I don't want it that much, just bring it down a touch and a little bit more. Okay, let's go and turn that light off, we no longer need it, and just twirl it round, and we are starting to get something. I just want to fast forward through this next process. For those who haven't used the Freeform plugin before, then this is just the mesh tool, which allows you to warp and stretch and bend a standard 2D layer. So although most of my hard work was done in the beginning with the displacement map alone, it's great that I can just go back into this mesh tool and further tweak or refine my model to whatever that might be. So both the displacement map and mesh tool gave me super control over the details, to the point where I was originally in the process of drawing this 180-degree character turnaround, which, to be honest, we're looking pretty bad. So just to think I was able to create an absolute multitude of additional angles, all of which turned out better than the ones I created originally. I think it'd be great as a character design tool in general, and it's certainly something that I want to utilize in the future. So this is where we're at after just a short amount of time, just using the displacement map and again just the tweaking of the mesh, and I've got a really nice side profile. It's quite hard to get that right, but as you can see there, I just jumped in at the end and just pushed my nose up a little further, and it's given it a more of a pleasant side profile. So there we go, we have our modelling done, and that's there waiting for us for when we finish our face rigging. So let's go and tackle that next.